Episode 72 saw us arrive into the tiny but beautiful British overseas territory of Gibraltar. We spent the first 3 months of 2024 enjoying life on this amazing little rock at the gateway to the Mediterranean. But all good things must come to an end, and all too soon April arrived, and it was time to leave the Med behind to battle our way north, through the Orca zone, against the prevailing winds and back home to the UK. There's no getting away from the fact that this trip was a far cry from the sunshine and adventure of the Med. Our one goal, for reasons we'll discuss more fully in the future, was simply to get home, and it was a challenge. It was tough, but there were some great adventures too. Join us now on the first leg of that journey. This is Intrepid Bear, a 40-foot sailboat on her way home after 3 years of adventures.
Join us, Kate and Ian, as we navigate the challenges of voyaging back to the UK.
Might need this.
It's like we're going somewhere on a boat.
I know, right? It's weird going to sea. We're only going to nip round for fuel, and then we are going to go out and anchor off La Linea, and then so that we're poised ready to go first thing in the morning. This marina shuts their gate at night. They pull a barrier across, and they don't take it away till 8 in the morning. We need to go slightly earlier than that.
Anyway, I managed to hurt my back while sneezing yesterday, so I've twinged it, so it's painful. So it's a testament to Ian's ability that he doesn't actually need me to crew the boat, but I'll do what I can, but I'm not going to be doing my usual crew duties. But Ian doesn't actually need me. He can quite happily single-hand this boat, so I'm just going to film stuff.
So what I'm going to do, because we've got the wind right up behind us, which is really handy, that means I can just drop off the bow lines. The wind will keep us away from the dock. The wind, if anything, is slightly off our port quarter, so I'll leave the port stern line tail last, and then when I'm ready I'll just drop off that port stern line, pull it back in, and manoeuvre my way out to the fairway. All gone. Farewell Queensway. So loads of room to just spin round. Wasn't sure if she was going to blow out into the middle more, but she just stayed still. So we just turn around, no need to reverse out.
I am not required.
Of course you are, darling.
That's how you're wanted but not actually needed.
Anchored off the Spanish town of La Linea on our final evening, there was only one tune for me to play. The 79th Farewell to Gibraltar was written in 1848 on the occasion of the 79th Cameron Highlanders leaving Gibraltar after 3 years bound for Canada. We had only been in Gibraltar for 3 months, but such was my affection for that small but mighty rock, it was quite a moment playing that tune whilst reflecting on our time there. So good morning. The sun's about to come up over La Linea, which is the Spanish town just on the border with Gibraltar. Because the wind's coming from the east, there's a Levanta cloud over the rock. You can see it there. It's almost like smoke pouring over the top of it. What it is, as far as I understand it, is there's like moist air comes down the Mediterranean, blown by the easterly wind. So from the east, hits the rock and just goes upwards and condenses over the top of the rock. So it makes its own cloud. It's called a Levanta cloud. Sun's about to come up. It's 20 to 8. We're going to weigh anchor at 8 o'clock. Depending on which book you read, it says you should leave Gibraltar at between 2 or 3 hours after high water in Gibraltar, and that gets you down to Tarifa with the maximum tide behind you. High water Gibraltar this morning was 5:33. We leave at 8. That's 2.5 hours after high water Gibraltar, so that kind of splits the difference. So we've got 7 or 8 knots of true wind at the moment, but only 2 knots of apparent wind. That's the wind actually that would be acting on the sails. So that's not going to do us much good. So we're not going to put sail up yet. Going through the strait, we're only going to use the head sail, just so that we can maneuver in a hurry if we need to. So we'll just go through the strait, head sail and engine. And once we're through the strait, we'll decide whether to put the mainsail up, depending on the conditions. So we'll keep an eye on our ETA, because at the moment it's like 10 o'clock. We got quite a lot of current against us, so hopefully we'll speed up through the strait, but we'll take a decision once we're through the strait on our ETA to Cadiz. We might end up in Barbate tonight, because I don't want to push it and arrive in the dark. We can do, but we don't need to, so we'll assess it as we go.
So we're about to enter the Straits on the way out. How do you feel about going through there with the Orcas and everything?
I feel if we can hold the 20-metre contour, I don't feel too worried about it. I'm more worried about the 20-metre contour really, because in places that's 100 metres off the cliffs, which is pretty tight. Yeah, it's not great, but there hasn't been much Orca activity in the actual Straits themselves, touch wood, recently. So yeah, I'm not too concerned, but definitely on alert.
What considerations have you got in terms of being on a 20-metre contour? What things do we have to consider?
Well, it's pretty shallow and we're too close. We'll be really close to the rocks. If we suddenly lost power, or you know, a back eddy got us and just pushed us towards the cliffs, you've got to be really careful you don't get pushed too close to the shore.
And is that why we've been waiting for a particular forecast?
Yes, I mean, well, in the Straits, yes, it'll be straight downwind, but once we're around the corner, and going up that coast in a northerly direction, then the wind will be offshore, and I'm much happier with that when I'm 20 metres off the 20-metre contour, because if anything goes wrong I'll be blown away from the shore. So a Spanish customs boat whizzing by. They kind of altered course towards us a little bit, so I wondered if they were going to stop and check us, which is not ideal, too close to the shore here. But they didn't. They just cruised on by, give us the look. And there is our final glimpse of the Rock of Gibraltar as we head down the strait towards the point at Tarifa. It seems like a lifetime ago, but was only actually 2 years, that we were both super excited at our first sight of Gibraltar as we entered the Med. It will always be a special place to us.
Gibraltar, the rock, there.
The Rock of Gibraltar. Kind of stupidly excited to get to Gibraltar. Don't know why. I haven't been particularly excited anywhere else. I'm loving the trip, but somehow excited about Gibraltar. Back to our outbound trip, and holding the 20-metre contour did give us the added benefit of seeing the coastline in all its glory. So put a bit of sail out. It's given us quite a big boost. Got 15 knots of wind at the moment. Got to be very wary. Just eating a croissant, I can't talk properly. Very wary when we get to Tarifa, because it blows 30 knots at Tarifa over 300 days of the year, because it just whistles down the strait and around the corner at Tarifa. So we've got to be really careful of that. I might have to roll a bit back in. Finally we got a really good boost from the tide, but I mean it's right at the end of the strait. The wind's backing around all over the place at the moment, but we're approaching Tarifa. That's the lighthouse in front of us. What is weird that is happening is out in the middle of the strait the tide is coming in, and that's what it says on the diagrams, whereas on the edges the current is going out where we are. So yeah, that's quite a contrast. And you can see we tried to get some footage, I don't know how well it'll come out until I look at it later, of the ruffled up bit in the middle, because in the middle the tide's coming in, which will be hitting the wind, so it'll be wind over tide, whereas here it's wind with tide, so it's not as so much white water and stuff. So we rounded the point and got a bit shallow there, went down to 3 meters, which is actually about 5, but still, that's not enough. That's not what it showed on the chart either, so we quickly jibed around and went out to sea a bit, so that was a little bit lively and 20 knots of wind. Now, those are all the buoys that mark the nets. There's one over there that you can see. There's a couple more in front of us you can't see so well. So we've got to hold this line 32 meters of depth. We've got to stick out here until we just clear this next sort of point around the nets. You can see it on the chart. That whole area is tuna nets, so we've got to stay outside of it. As soon as we get clear of that, we can dodge back in again. So we cleared the nets, we're heading back inshore to get into the 20 meter depth again. We've let some more head sail out. We haven't filmed as much as we sometimes would, because we really are on alert because we're so close to the shore and keeping an eye out for...
Still filming.
Station calling Intrepid Bear, channel 06 over. Station calling Intrepid Bear, this is Intrepid Bear on channel 67.
Yes, this is Avia Primero. Just to inform you, you cannot drop the anchor in this area.
Station calling Intrepid Bear, didn't get your name, but I understand cannot drop the anchor. No, we have no intention. We are passing through, sticking to the shallow water, but we are heading for Barbate Orca Diz. We understand no anchoring. Thank you. Yeah, we haven't been filming much because we have we're on high alert for the orcas, and also we're so close to the shore and there's been all these pot marks and everything around, so we're a little busy, but we have let full sail out now. We've got an ETA to Cadiz of 6:30 at the moment, but we are doing 7.5 knots. So for 7 or 8 knots through the water, we got 9 and a bit knots, 9.5 at times over the ground. So we've obviously got some tide whipping up the coast here, which is useful. That gives us a good head start, 10 knots. That gives us a good head start to get us to Cadiz in daylight, because what we don't want to do is be out here in the dark, this close to the shore and with the orca threat, because if we're then damaged and out in the dark, we don't want that. So we're doing day hops the whole way until we're clear of the orca threat.
Between Tarifa and Barbate there are 3 or 4 large tuna nets that stretch offshore by 1 kilometre or more. The first ones you must go outside of, but the net at Barbate itself is recommended that you go inside. From a distance there doesn't appear room, but as you approach the harbour there is a very small gap to get around the inner end of the net.
Literally right up to the harbour, literally as if we were going in.
That is really, really close.
Barbate was the last of the nets, but we still wanted to hold that 20-metre contour.
It's actually a really nice looking coastline from out here. Not bad at all really, wouldn't mind exploring, but say we want to push on while we've got the weather, so we will push on while we got the weather. But yeah, it looks quite nice. One of the benefits of hugging the coastline like this, even though I'd rather be out there sailing sort of freely and not hugging the shore.
Just north of Barbate is Cape Trafalgar, the scene of a famous sea battle in 1805, during which the British Royal Navy under the command of Admiral Lord Nelson defeated a larger fleet of combined Spanish and French ships. Sadly, Nelson himself was fatally wounded in the battle, and his famous ship HMS Victory subsequently put into Gibraltar for repairs and to offload his body. Staying close to the shore off Cape Trafalgar requires you to keep a very close eye on the navigation, due to lots of undersea contours giving some very rapid depth changes.
7 metres under the keel. Squeak!
Yeah, and there's little breaking wavesy bits.
Yeah, that'll be the reef. But we're through, it's getting deeper again now.
And of course, the whole reason for being so close to shore was the threat of orca interaction, which had us alert to any disturbance on the water surface. Often it was just a large school of fish, but you never know what is chasing those fish.
There's loads of bird activity, isn't there?
So just approaching the marina, we've got 1.5 miles to go. It's picked up to like 22, 23 knots now, which I could do without for docking, but hey, it is what it is. We'll go in, I think there's a reception dock, might try and call them, but if not, we'll just go in onto the fuel dock and go and see if they've got space for the night. The book says that they do have a lot of spaces, so hopeful, until it's not particularly high season, so fingers crossed. But it's pretty windy all of a sudden. So that was a little bit hectic. So we're here in Puerto I'll have to put it on the screen. It's in the north side of the Bay of Cadiz, so we're sort of across the bay from Cadiz itself. It was all a bit hectic, so I'm afraid we didn't film. It'd been a long passage, holding those contours and watching out for everything all the time. It was quite intense actually. And then we came in here and you can see how windy it is. And we had to go alongside the waiting pontoon, which was blowing us hard on. Difficult. So anyway, we're here, we're filling up with water. It's nice to be secure for the night. We should sleep well. We've had dinner. Topping up the water because the water maker's not quite working at the moment. The inlet valve is seized up, so we can't, the water maker's working, we can't get water into it. So we're just topping up to make sure we've got plenty, not bothering with electric because we're only going to be sleeping and the solar can handle all that. So yeah, that's it. Fill in the water, go to bed, get up, do it all again tomorrow. Again, we're doing the same sort of thing. Weather permitting, we're heading for the River Guadiana tomorrow. And that's another similar sort of length of passage. So yeah, that's what we'll be doing.
As we draw this episode to a close, brace yourselves for the next chapter. After a dawn departure, swarms of insects descend upon us. Will we survive this biblical onslaught? Tune in next time to find out.